Guys, do you ever find yourself, you're snapping at your kids for no apparent reason? You're zoning out during conversations with your wife, or carrying pressure that turns into quiet anger? It's not just stress, guys. That's emotional chaos. And if you don't learn to master it, it will destroy everything you've built. And here's the truth. You can't complain either, because when you complain, you actually make yourself a victim. So you need to leave the situation you're in. You need to change the situation, or you need to accept it. All other things are complete madness.
Leaders are not born in a womb. They are forged through heat, pressure, and a whole lot of sweat. The Fire Forged Leader podcast serves the audience through exploring leadership at work, in the community, and with the family, using a practical perspective and real-life experiences from the host, Steve Baumgartner, and his guests in The Forge. Now, it's time to enter the Forge with the Fire Forged Leader.
I got this question from a man in my socials the other day, and it hit hard. He said, this man named Jake, he said, I feel like I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm providing for my family. I'm working hard. But lately, I've been irritable. I've been disconnected. And honestly, I just feel numb. I know something's off, but I don't know how to fix it, Steve. How do I get back in control over my emotions and show up for my wife and show up for my family like I'm meant to? Now, guys, if you've ever felt like that before, this episode is for you. You know, there was a time not so long ago in my life, on paper, I was living the dream. I had a director level position. I was overseeing a massive footprint. Everyone knew who I was. My skill set was highly in demand. I walked into rooms with authority. People would say to me things like, man, you have got the life. Or, I wish that I could have a job like yours. Or I wish I could do what you do. But they didn't see the war that I was fighting on the inside. I was carrying deep loneliness. I missed my family. I missed my relationship with my wife. I was drinking way too much just to numb the pressure of this loneliness. And when I came home, it wasn't peace. I was unsettled. It was more of a war with my wife. My wife and I weren't truly connected. We were married, but we were living like roommates. We had separate lives, even though we lived in the same house. And in that moment, or in those moments, I had a decision to make. I could keep on numbing myself. I could keep on blaming for the situation that I was in. I could keep on hiding from it. Or I could take ownership of my life. And that's when I chose to leap. I didn't complain. I didn't point fingers. I said, if this is going to change, I need to change it. And it brings me back to that quote that I just mentioned, and I'm going to mention it again because it punches me right in the gut. And it states, when you complain, you make yourself a victim. You give up your power. So you need to either leave the situation, you change the situation, or you can accept the situation. All else is madness. And I realize now that back then I was living in madness. I was ignoring it. I was running from the loneliness, from that decision, from taking ownership. Guys, you're not weak for feeling emotions. Let me tell you that point blank right now. But you are irresponsible if you refuse to master your emotions. So here's the framework that I'm going to share with you today. It's 3 parts: simple, simple, simple. Actually, no, it's 3 other words, but they all happen to be simple. It's recognize, regulate, and reframe. And that's really how you take dominion over your world, your internal world. And once that you can master your internal world, you can also rule in your external world. So let's get after that first one, guys. The first one is recognize. You can't fix what you won't face. Let me say that again. You cannot fix what you won't face. You know, most men are emotionally numb, not because these men are weak, but because they've been taught to shut it down instead of facing that emotion head on. Think about it. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, we were told not to cry. We were told not to show our emotions. Now, since then, it's gone totally the other way, but that's a whole nother episode. So let's go back to shutting it down, right? And not facing it head on. If you cannot name what's going on the inside of you, you're going to keep on reacting to it like you're a slave. Emotions aren't bad. They're data. They're not directives. Emotions are not bad. They are data, not directives. They're messengers trying to show you something deeper. So here's some examples. If you get angry about something, maybe you feel disrespected. Anger is just an emotion tied to the feeling of being disrespected sometimes. Are you feeling quiet and withdrawn? Maybe you're feeling disconnected. This goes back to what I was talking about with my wife and myself. We were both feeling disconnected. We were strangers to each other. So it was hard to understand what our emotions were telling us. Are you frustrated? Maybe you're simply unfulfilled. Maybe it's at work. Maybe you don't feel like you're living up to the man that you're meant to be. So I want you to try this. I want you to ask yourself, what is it that I'm truly feeling right now? And sit with that for a minute. And then I want you to ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? And sit with that for a little while. And then ask yourself further, what could have caused this? What triggered it? I will tell you that men who can name these emotions can also lead through these emotions. Get good at it. Name your emotions, understand why you're feeling your emotions, and what triggered those emotions. All right, number 2, guys, is regulate. Regulate. I want you to feel it fully, but I also want you to channel it wisely. Emotion is power, but undisciplined emotion is absolute destruction. You can't lead in your home, you can't lead your team or your mission in a state of emotional instability. Complaining, it's simply emotional leakage. It's giving away your power. So here's some examples. Yelling in conflict. Instead of yelling in conflict situations, I want you to slow your breath down and simply speak with clarity. I've talked about this before and I'll talk about it again, but give yourself just a touch of space, and that's what that breathing does. And then instead of responding with a yell, respond with clarity. For example, honey, I feel disrespected when you talk to me like that. Which brings me to the next one, the next example. If you're feeling disrespected, set a boundary. Have that hard conversation. Do it in a controlled manner. If you're overwhelmed, move your body. You can pray. You can call one of the people in your tribe. Call your brother and let him know what's going on inside you. So I want you to try this. When emotion spikes, I want you to name it. I want you to ground yourself, and I want you to move and not mope. Discipline is going to be what turns emotional men into powerful men. Guys, number 3 is reframing that emotion. This isn't happening to me, it's happening for me. That's huge. This is where you go from victim to warrior. The victim says, "Why me? Why is this happening to me? Oh, poor me." The warrior, however, asks, "What's the lesson in this? How can I learn from this emotion? How can I learn from this situation?" Every challenge is building something in you if you choose to see it that way. So if you're struggling in business, could be that it's not the economy, that it's not this, it's not that, it's not your buyers, it's not your sellers, it's not your salespeople. It might be a learning lesson about resourcefulness and resilience. If you have tension in your marriage, it's probably not your wife's fault. She could be part of it, but maybe you're being called to something better, to something higher. I know a lot of people who are married and claim to be happy, but I wouldn't say that they have strong marriages. They've learned how to coexist. I'm going to tell you right now that coexisting has nothing on a strong marriage. And if you're feeling resistance, guys, that's simply growth trying to break through. So I want you to try this. When life punches you, when it just totally knocks you off your feet, I want you to ask, is this something that I need to leave? Is this something that I need to change? Or is this simply something that I need to accept? So let's talk about those 3 things, right? Because a strong man can choose any one of those 3 at any given moment. Can I leave this? Maybe you're in a toxic work environment and they're requiring you to work 16-hour days, 7 days a week, and you're not getting the time with your wife and kids. Can I leave this? Can I change this is the next one. Maybe it's also a toxic work environment, but it has to do with team members not working together. Can I change this? Can I be instrumental in changing that culture? Can I get myself in the middle of it and bring teams together to show them what that work looks like? Or can I accept this? So I'm going to use an extreme example, but I know quite a few people who are missing limbs that are very strong people. They could have sat there and whined about it. Why did I get shot in this leg? Why did I step on that landmine? Why did I have this birth defect? They don't do that. They might have had a period of time where they did that. But on the other side of that, they accepted it and they understand that's just part of who they are. And they don't waste any more time on those complaints. Stop wasting emotional energy on things that you don't have to. If you can reframe, it turns pain into power. Guys, the world doesn't need more reactive men. It really doesn't. Your wife doesn't need outbursts. Your kids don't need fear. Your mission, it doesn't need chaos. What all of those need is a man who has mastered himself, or at least working on it. So here's the challenge that I have for all of you today is I want you to catch that emotion. I want you to name that emotion. I want you to control it and reframe it. And last but not least, guys, if you are tired of walking this path alone, maybe it's that the men in your life are weak-willed sons of bitches. If you're tired of walking this path alone, I want you to seriously consider reaching out to me because I can set you on two different paths. I can set you on my premium coaching path, which is the Forged Leadership Blueprint, or at Easter, I have another option, and it's called the Knight's Order. It's an online option that comes at a very reasonable price point where you'll be connected with other men on the same mission that will hold you accountable and help you become the man, the husband, the father, and the leader that God has designed you to be. Both of these places are where men rise up. This is where legacies are built. You know, before I let you guys go, once again, I appreciate you for being here on the Fire Forge Leader podcast. Hit that like button if you appreciated this episode. Share it with someone who might need it. And hit that subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. And I just want to leave you with this today. Victimhood, it ends where responsibility begins. I need you to recognize, I need you to regulate and I need you to reframe. And at the end of the day, that's emotional intelligence. You hear it talked about all the time. I didn't name it until now, but that's exactly what it is. You're not a slave to your emotions, guys. You guys are Fire Forge leaders. So lock in, because we have more work to do. And I'm going to see you on the next episode.
You have just experienced the heat and pressure of the forge. Remember, words without action are meaningless. Now, after the heat of the forge, shape your thoughts, quench your brain, then put your new tools to use, adding to your leadership. Tune in next week for more lessons from the forge.